Well, I think I told you when for ours, it's always been like, passion. Like if somebody's super passionate or just super interesting, like that's where, like, I don't even, it doesn't even, like we're going to have, very cool guy, good friend of mine, like he's coming on to do an episode. And so for like people like that, they're like, well, it's a rap podcast. Like, what are we going to talk about? And I'm like, it's my podcast. Do whatever we want to. Like,
that's true.
Just do it. Like it. So it's like the barrier to entry for me is pretty
minimal.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Slightly Serious Sign Podcast, brought to you by Wensco Sign Supply, the #1 podcast in the sign and graphics industry for news, events, new products, and customer success stories. If you want to know what's going on or you want to grow your sign shop, you're in the right place. Here is one, some, or all of your hosts, Mike, Tyler, and Domingo. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 106 of the Slightly Serious Sign Podcast. If you see me and you're thinking, wow, these are the same clothes you were wearing last week, that would be true. It's been like 4 hours since we did the last episode, a week for you guys. But I have a sweet guest here. Scott Decker joined me. He was here doing the training that we actually referenced in the last video. We got done and I was like, hey, just come in here real quick. And then we've been talking for I don't know how long. And Rick said, hey, you should probably do the intro to this podcast. So here we are. So Scott, we'll go back to what we were just talking about because I think it's a fine place to start. But do you want to start by at least introducing yourself for people who don't know who you are?
Sure. I am Scott Decker. I'm a 3M Authorized Trainer and I own WrapOn. So WrapOn is, we do WrapOn Tools. We do media. So we have the podcast and then we do some content. And then, also we do the training stuff. So
nice. So I came on the WrapOn podcast. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many weeks ago that was, 5-6 weeks ago. It feels like a while ago, but
it's only because we haven't put it out. See, if we had put it out already, it would feel like it wasn't so
it'd be
long.
like it's here on the screen. You can see it here. You can't.
The anticipation's killing you.
Really, it is, because I have no idea if it was good or not. After you talk for that long, you're just like, I don't know, where did we start? But I was saying with yours, like what's cool about so your podcast is about the wrap industry kind of as a whole. And you were just referencing that really it's just whatever I think is interesting. That's what I bring on. And I was saying, well, it's cool because having only been doing the show side of this where I meet a lot of these wrap shops for 3-4 years now, there's a lot of interesting people in the wrap industry. And there's a lot of people that have been doing it a real long time.
Sure.
I mean, like before the material was any good at all, right? Like we always joke that the people now are kind of spoiled with the material that we have, right? Yeah. Like you can bring someone in relatively easy to get them comfortable. Like I always joke that the hood displays that, like the hood wraps they do at the shows, like the reason they do those is because anyone can come in and do that and be like, oh yeah, I think I could do this.
Who was the girl from class today? Amanda? Is that her name? Oh, I'm botching this up. That's not good.
Allison.
I knew it started with an A though. That's pretty good.
You were close.
Yeah, I was all over it. But like today, like she tinted a window.
Yeah.
Looked pretty good, and 10 years ago, I mean, I don't know. Maybe she could have. Maybe there's some raw talent in there, but or it could just be a mixture of just great training and raw talent.
It probably was the trainer.
Yeah, it just all came together and it's like, it's beautiful. But no, it's gotten a lot better, right? So materials go down a lot easier and it's weird, every once in a while I go through these phases of watching other people in the industry. And it's like, you see like the ramp up of like, there's this big group of people that are just super hyper passionate, right? And they love it. And it's all, it's their life. And then it's like, you see those people start to get like miserable and burn out and like, what am I doing? And I was talking to somebody the other day and they were like, I'm questioning my life decision.
Yeah.
And it's like, but then all of a sudden you start to go back up and then you see the next generation of these young guys that come in and they're just jacked and excited and pumped. And so, the podcast, it allows us to kind of hit on a little bit of all that, right? So you can have people on that are, older, that have been around a lot longer, the newer people, and the people that are somewhere in between that are just trying to figure it out. And, I enjoy that. Like I told you, it's passion and interesting, right? And so it doesn't even really have to be in the wrap industry. It just so happens that most of the people that I know or meet have something to do with graphics, right? But, I just like people that get excited about something, and at times, like I said, there's people in this industry that they're not excited about in that moment. So it's like, I feed off of it from other industries and I get excited too, watching people come from other industries into our industry, right? So like, that's always cool to like hear people, like somebody comes in and takes a class. We had a guy, he came in and took a class with me and he was a nutritionist. Well, so we had, my wife, my daughter, they went to a nutritionist. And so there's like a big difference between like a dietitian and a nutritionist. But either way, I think you have to have like your master's to be a nutritionist. So this guy has his master's in nutrition and goes and gets his car wrapped, and somebody did a job. And now, you know, he's like, well, I'll just do it myself. I'll go learn how to do it. And it's like, that's pretty incredible. Like, you know, the guy's made a solid career and something else. And he's like, you know what, I'm going to shift gears and move into this. And it's just nice to see. It keeps me pumped, you know, it keeps me excited.
Yeah. I always think it's interesting when you go around and ask like, oh, where'd you guys come from? You know, like what'd you do? Like the show we just did, that's like what I ask a lot of anytime they have like a new franchisee for Fast Signs, right? Like that's my favorite question is like, oh, where'd you come from? Cause they almost never come from the sign side. And, so that's why I'm always interested when like the one guy that was opening a new one, he's like, yeah, I come from the automotive side. And I was like, that's broad. Okay. You're gonna have to narrow that down, right? Yeah. Like,
yeah. Cause paint and body makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Even like if you were like in the, like the, what are they like this, like the radio, like the, you know, for a while, like that was a big thing. Guys were putting like, you know, systems in their car and you know, so even that like is connected. You don't see a ton of mechanics. I mean, some, I guess, but you know, mechanic is pretty, you know, was it forklift operator or something? Like, what do you think?
Certified forklift driver. Yeah.
I think I can wrap.
Yeah.
I can operate a forklift. So
have you seen me drive this forklift around? I'll be just fine. No, it's interesting though, like where they all come from to get to wrap. Like sometimes it's just like from nowhere. You're like, yeah, I was doing this thing and then one day I saw someone tinting a window. I did that. I was like, oh, it's not for me. So then I just got into wrapping cars. Now that's what I do. You're like, what a weird path to get there.
I got to say this because it's just going to be on my brain. But so I think the joke, at least our joke with inside the industry is aerial platform certified. I don't even know if it's a real thing. I think you can do it through like Sunbelt or something like that. But when I've been out on job sites before where people have their lift and I would, you know, I'm planning on using their lift because the contractor, GC, whoever was like, yeah, there's a lift on site, and you get there and they're like, are you certified? And so every time it's like, yeah, I have my aerial platform certification. You need my number? You need the code on the card?
Yeah, your ID number.
You got to have that, right? So anyway, so that's my go-to aerial platform.
That's certified. What you need for OSHA certification, probably.
If you want to be a legitimate graphic installer, you're going to need
doing walls. Yeah, you need that. It's good to know.
You can call me, reach out to me, Scott@wrapontools.com. I'll get you on.
You do the training in-house.
Yeah. It's in-house.
It's virtual as well.
Sometimes.
Believe it.
Yeah, it's good. You got to check that box.
Yeah. So we talked about a lot of interesting people in the wrap industry. Why do you think there's so many? I mean, maybe this is just across the board, right? But having met like a lot of people on the sign side, there's certainly a lot of really interesting personalities. But I feel like every time I talk to any wrap shop that's of any volume, I just always think like, wow, this is such a crazy story of how you got here. I do not understand how you got to where you're at now. Why do you think there's so much of that on the wrap side?
So why do we have Tim Norman? Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
How did we end up with Tim Norman?
Yeah. Or duplicates of different versions of him. Yeah.
So I think the wrap industry is interesting because you can have an appreciation for art, right? A creative side, and that creative outlet come out through installing films, designing films, even the processes. Like, you know, you've been in plenty of production companies, you see like they streamline these processes where it's like almost like an assembly line. You know, you go into some of these big ones. So I think there's tons of creative, tons of space for creativity. The business side, creating businesses, franchises, right? Like, so there's all this room, this runway to be able to be as creative as you want to. So, you know, historically, creativity draws in a certain type of person, right? It just does. They're a little bit more free thinking. You're not going to tell them what to do, right? But then the other side of it, because the businesses can be so successful, right? Then you kind of get that other side too. The person that's more structured. It's probably like a left brain, right brain thing. I don't know. But I think because it checks both sides, and it can attract you in either way. You start to look around and it's like, in what world would these 100 people be in the same place, you know, when you go to a show or something like that, you know, or you look at like, even like the groups, right? You look at the mob and you're like, in no other way would these, you know, 40 people ever be together and hang out and talk, because they're just so different. You know what I mean? Like they're just, but also the same, you know? So I think that's why. I think that's where it comes from. I think just being able to pull in from all different sources. And I think that's a little unorthodox, right? You know, it's not like your traditional, you feel like you're kind of paving this new path, you know, there's something different, and you don't know where it's going to stop. You know, when we first started, it was like you did loose decals, little graphics, little stuff. And now it's like you cover everything. Like there's nothing off limits. And you always wonder when it's going to stop. But again, people just keep thinking stuff up and becoming more and more creative. Did you see the Louis Vuitton did this thing in downtown New York where they made, so they're doing construction on one of their buildings, but they made the building look like Louis Vuitton bags, right? Huh. But it's a skyscraper, so it looks like they're all stacked on top of each other. It's incredible, but there's nothing like necessarily like crazy about it. But it was just good marketing, good execution. I mean, it's really cool. But stuff like that, like now that it kind of raises the bar. It's like the new standard, you know, that I don't know that it'll take off like that just because they're a super high end brand. Like they can afford to do that sort of thing. But like the idea of like taking something that would have been an eyesore and been inconvenient for the world to look at, right? They made it a piece of art. It was really cool.
I do think it's crazy. Like you can tell when like something like that, right? Whether that's in signs or wraps or wall graphics, anything like that, you can tell when the person that was in charge of the project and the designer also at least talked to an installer before it went through, where you're just like, the only way this makes sense is if somebody physically went through and explained it to him. Be like, no, you need to do it like this and like this, because otherwise it's not going to work, right?
Well, like it makes it easy being a trainer, because when you walk into a situation, to a shop, and you know, they're like, we don't feel like we're executing. We're not hitting it. You know, we see these other shops and they're streamlined and they don't have these issues. It's like, it's so easy to identify. It's like, well, okay, you know, we start in the install bay. It's like, what's your bleed? I don't know. How do you not know that? I don't talk to him. Well, you know, that's kind of important. Yeah, well, you don't know what the hell he's doing. Maybe because you're not talking to him, right? Like, do you know what you want? Well, I mean, yeah, just some consistency. Well, tell them that, right? Like, so let's walk up there and talk to it. And then you just kind of walk it down from, you know, from back to the front and then front to the back. But it's so funny because you would think that would just be common knowledge, right? But it's great for me because it makes me look like a rock star. You walk in and they're like, wow, you solved that problem. That's incredible. We'd have never got that. And I was like, all right, well.
They're communicating.
Yeah. We're talking. This is great. Who would have thought?
No, 100%. I mean, we just did the wall training here with General Formulations in Chad Parish. And that was one of the main points that people took away is like, oh, we need to make sure that our installers and designers are talking to each other.
For sure.
And I was making the point that like, not only should they be talking to each other, talk to each other before you send it to the client, right? Because as soon as the client gets that and they're like, this works for me, you're stuck. You're not doing anything after that.
When I drop panels and I pull the liner off and it's almost dead nuts registration, I get the same response every single time. People are like, oh my God, how did you do that? I'm like, well, I measured up there. I measured down there. I made sure that Billy Bob and the boys that were on the production table cut a straight line. That's it. This ain't real complicated, right? And for some reason, it's like, whoa, how do you tell them to cut it straight? I'm like, it's pretty simple, really. You throw a roller up there. You just, I don't know, do something, show them how to do it. You can do it. There's 100 ways that you can do it, but that's that little bit of gap between that. It's like, it seems massive at times, but
I do think it's interesting when like I've sat in enough trainings where like some of the simplest things, like someone will just say something just like off whim, you know, just like, oh yeah, if that happens, just do this. And you'll just see somebody go like, oh no, like it was that easy the whole time. Like I've been struggling with this for years, you know, and it's just like the simplest thing. Like,
so I did a training at 2311, Michael Jordan and Danny Hamlin's team. And we went in, they have in-house installers but but they also wanted to get their road crew guys up to speed because a lot of times they're having to install the graphics at the track, right? So if the graphics get messed up, they replace the graphics. So they want to make sure they know how to do it. The in-house guys didn't love the fact that I was coming in to do it. Now I can say that, right? And it's not like they didn't like me as a person. It was just more like, well, we know what we're doing. Why are you hiring? Who's this guy? You know what I mean? But there was a couple times that it was like, you know, so on the deck lid, so the top of the trunk has a spoiler on it. Spoiler comes down, lays on top of the quarter panel. So when you're going into the seat post, back there between the seat post and the spoiler turns into a nasty mess. Everything's bunched up and it's a huge pain, right? After you've done a few thousand of those, you figure out like, hey, nice little relief cut, flip this back, open the trunk lid, and it just falls over. Right. And if you've never seen that, if you've never been through that process, right? Like it seemed like you would watch me do it and you would be like, well, yeah, duh, that's the way you do it. Right. But if you've wrapped enough race cars, it just doesn't, for whatever reason, it just doesn't click. So when I'd done it, you know, the first time, the guy was standing back there and I heard the,
like how many hours of his life he's lost to just, if he had just seen one.
So we get done and he says, hey, come over this side. Do that one more time. And I was like, hey, man, I promise this isn't smoke and mirrors. Like, I'm not, this isn't like a poof thing. And like, you know, he was like, I know. It just looked really easy. And I'm like, it is really easy. So it's just things like that. Like you don't know what you don't know, you know? And so working with, it's just, and you try to keep those, you stack them, you put them in your back pocket and, you know, when the opportunity comes, you whip them out and, you know, it blows their mind. And then, you know, again, you look like a rock star.
We did a class at Ray Hall Letterman and the end of the class, they were like, hey, if anyone wants to wrap on an Indy car, they can. We have one here. Like we have an extra one. And they had the
I remember seeing the photos and stuff. Like that was actual, Chad was there. Yep.
So they had the actual graphics from one of the race cars, like, cause they do 2 sets, you know, so there's just extra ones sitting around. So they bring out a whole set, right? They bring out one of their installers so he can walk us through, hey, this goes here, you know, do this. And when you look at an Indy car, like if you've wrapped a car before and you look at an Indy car, you're like, oh, cool. So it's just like I'm doing a bumper the whole time, you know, like it's just, that's all there is to it. So I'm like looking at this thing like, well, how, like, and they're like, yeah, we got like an hour. And he's like, yeah, we can easily get this done. I was like, how are you getting this done in an hour? Yeah. And so I watched them do the first side and it's like the way they've done it so many times, right? The way they print the graphics, where they trim them. And you're just like, oh, it's like, instead of doing like, you know, we would do it in like 3 panels on the side of a car. They just do it in like 5 panels, and those 5 are all relatively flat. Actually, you got a couple curves, but it's not bad. So by the end, we're like, oh, well, shoot, we got to take a picture of this car by the time we're done. So like, Tyler, get in. I was like, this is going to be bad.
Get in the car?
By the time get wrapping. And I was like, this is going to be bad. I'm here to just instruct from back here, you know?
I imagined you getting in the Indy car.
Yeah. Well, it was Graham's. It was Graham's car. So I should have fit. I think he's taller than me. So, but yeah, I get in there and they're like, yeah, just wrap. And I was like, there's no way this is going to go well. And then by the time he walks you through, I was like, oh, this actually is not that bad. And it's just like, if somebody that's done it a million times just shows it to you, it looks so easy. Like I joked about that with the tint when you did the window. And I was like, when I go to do this, there's no way it's going to look like. He's just like, yeah, just line it up, push it over, squeegee, done. That's it.
It's the dumb stuff though. That's like, even when you're training, like you can easily forget, like, until you get like a really good cadence. Like there's some things that you just hit on, right? But then it's like, you'll take for granted, like some of the little tiny details. That's like, so, and I'd noticed that whenever we were doing the window earlier, and it's like, you know, I'll always just kind of take my left hand in, slide it in, get it in the position, but I'm never saying what's happening back here, but there's something happening back here, but it's like, it just never comes out because it's like, you know, you guys can see this, like you get it.
Yeah, you know,
but you don't, you know what I mean? So it's like dumb stuff like that. So, and that'll mess me up too, because as soon as it clicks, it's like, I gotta say it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now it's like, okay guys, hang on a minute. We're going to pull this back off. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, but you need to know what this is over here is doing, because this is important.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, like you said, you don't know. So
yeah. It's even like when I mean, you saw me do the window, right? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, I followed all the steps. And then, you're like, yeah, just hold it and then just push it up to the window. And I go to do that. And the second I start leaning into the window, I think, I think I was supposed to spray this first. It's too late now. It's already on the window. I get it up there. Sure enough, it's stuck on there. I'm like, all right, let me slowly. They're talking for the class too, because I was already behind. So I'm like peeling off. You can hear it cracking off. It's like just one step, if you don't catch. But it's funny, like having watched, I took one of Charlie Trudeau's classes, right? So I got to see him train. I've seen Chad train a billion times, and they all have like these phrases that they use, right? With Chad, I always make fun of him because I think they're hilarious, but he even makes fun of me in the class. He says, what am I going to say here? Because it's just like a thing, right? Yeah. But I think all the trainers have it, where like they have these words that they use, because it's like the thing I'm trying to explain to you there's not like a word for this, right? It's like I need to do this thing, and it doesn't really have a word, right? Like the one I always make fun of Chad is like he calls it choppy. So when you're squeegeeing and you, rather than doing strokes, and he's like, no choppy is what he says. And I think about it every time. Like, it's like, no choppy, don't do that.
But those things help. Those things will lock into somebody's brain because they're, their muscle, for whatever reason, they don't really have any muscle memory, but their brain is telling them like, oh, I just need to, maybe it's they watched an Instagram video, something is forcing them to start doing this. And so you got to say something that clicks and breaks that habit, because they'll hold on to it. Yeah. And even when you tell them, a lot of times it takes a few times, so when it's funny, like that helps, you know, because you can just walk by and casually say, oh, no choppy and roll on, you know what I mean? Like, and it'll click, over because they don't want to hear it. They're going, oh, that's right. I'm doing it again. The instructor's picking on me now. Jeez. Like, so you try to pick up on those little things, and you just drop them. Charlie's funny, dude. He's just like walking humor.
The way he says things to you, and all the trainers I think do the same thing too. We're like, sometimes something that is actually not easy, right? And they'll just do it in the training, and you'll just be like, just like, I always laugh, like the first training I took with Chad, and he did the front bumper, right? And he's like, just heat it and then just pull it. And he like pulls it, and it's just glass. And you're like, in what world am I going to get up there, pull that thing? It's going to look anything remotely close to that, right? And he's like, okay, let's go back to the other side. So he like goes through and explains it slower, right? But you see it the first time, and you think like, oh yeah, I can do this. And then you see it the second time in slow motion, you're like, just kidding, cannot do this. There's no way, right? But that's the benefit of like we always push like, hey, I think you should do, as many trainings as you can, right? We always talk about like with certifications, right? But like the benefit of doing all the certifications is that most of those are all different trainers, right? You're not going to get the same trainer for 2 different manufacturers' certifications. And it's good because they all do it differently. And you may take a class, you may have taken 4 classes, and then you take a 5th one, and someone shows you one thing and it saves you 2 hours per van. It's just like, oh, I just do this thing. Like and oftentimes I think it's just the way their brain works and the way that the trainer's brain works sometimes are in sync in terms of like, oh, that makes sense to me. Well, even though the previous one had told them. And
I watch like the new trainers come in, and even the older people that are new trainers, right? It's like, that whatever that thing is that you're talking about, they have it. And so when I see those classes pop up, it's like PG's been training with Oracle for the last couple of years. I want to go take a class with him. Like, I want to see him in that setting. I want to see what that's like, you know? Marcelo from Hexus, like, he's just a cool, smooth guy. Yeah. Like, I enjoy watching him install. He's super confident. He speaks well. It's funny because, I've heard him say it a couple times, like, my English, it's like, no, it's pretty, I completely understand it. Yeah. Because he articulates well, he means well. Like when he says something, it's like, he gets straight to the point. And I like a little bit of both, right? Like I like Charlie, like he'll just make up words, or whatever. Like he can just, metaphors, and it's light humor, but also like to the point. And so, it's even for me, like I still love it. I want to, there's people out there I want to train with and I want to work with, just because, it builds you up. It makes you better, Yeah.
Every training every different trainer that I've ever worked with, I always feel like, oh yeah, that's interesting. And the one that was funny to me is the class we just did. We had people in the class that had taken, so we were doing a wall training, right? We had people that had taken our vehicle training earlier in the year, right? So different trainers. And they were, I'm going to mess this up. Chad, if he ever listens to this, is going to make fun of me for this, but so Chad either only pushes or only pulls his squeegee.
Oh, okay.
I'm fairly certain that he pulls is the answer. Really? And training we had done at the beginning of the year was with Richie from Arlon, and he's like, never pull, right? It's one or the other, right? Sure. So one of them pushes, one of them pulls, and Richie had said, never do it the other way, right? And so we have a student in the class, right? That
you get them together, they'd be dangerous, right?
He's like,
one push, one pull.
What's even crazier is I was making a joke to the student. He's like, didn't the trainer tell me not? I was like, 100%. He told me. I was like, you're not being crazy right now. Because he starts squeeging, and Chad's like, oh no, don't do it that way. Do it the other way. And he's like, no, the other guy told me. He's like, oh, I don't know what the other guy told you, but do it this way. And then I was laughing. He's like, did he not tell me that? I was like, yeah, he did. He said, you know what the funny part is? There's a banner we're here. There's a banner in the demo room. That's one of the first Arlon trainings that we did. And Richie was the trainer in that class, and Chad took the class. His name is on the banner. I was really? Like, how funny is that the trainer you had trained the trainer that you're currently working with, and they do it two separate ways. And let me tell you, both of them, very, very good at what they do, right? Sure. No complaints there. So I was like, it's funny that like, you'll get two trainers that are like, oh, you definitely cannot do it this way. And the other one will be like, oh no, this is the only way you can do it.
Yeah. It's funny because if you know the consequences, right? And so it's like, you try to, you hold tight to it, and you know what you know. And so it's funny. I'll say this. I went and took a class with Rainer, I'm going to botch his last name of Rainer Lars, I think. The name
sounds familiar.
So he trains with the Wrap Institute.
Okay.
So he works with Justin.
Oh yeah. I've seen him in videos.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. So he's the total package. He's the real deal. Now, Justin's approach to training is a lot different. He articulates well. He's very precise. But Rainer is just he's a whole nother level, dude. He really is. Like he's a DJ. He's a comedian. He owns a wrap shop, sign shop. Like he's the international man of mystery. Like he trains that way. So he integrates like magic, and he integrates like humor, and it's not even really like he's teaching you. It's almost like you're living together in a learning space at the exact same time. And so it's like nothing's off the table. So he's probably, one of the top, in my opinion. And I always ask, right? Like if we have a class of students and they've been trained by other people, like, who did you enjoy working with? And I'll say Chad has gotten a lot. Like he's probably at the top of the list as far as just people just really liking him and liking his training style. Yeah. He's very relatable, I guess. Just kind of a humble, down to earth kind of person.
Yeah.
Beautiful smile. Jesus, beautiful smile.
That's the joke we always make. If we went through all the pictures we've ever taken in wrap class, there's not one bad one. How does it happen? It's like almost like the second you pull the trigger, he just knows. You're like,
just turns it on.
Just smiling again. I don't know.
But there's a lot of trainers out there. You know what I mean? And so they all bring something different. Like, Richie I've never trained with Richie, but I assume that he's probably fantastic.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Training is interesting. It's a cool space, and it's grown a lot in the last 5 years.
Yeah. Well, you did a podcast with Tim, Rapper, and he just put out his calendar for the year for trainings. And there's like 16, 17 different available trainings out there, right? That's not trainers. That's like companies hosting training. Sure. And I just think there's so many options there. How in the world does somebody look at that list and be like, you know what? That Wensco logo looks pretty good. I'm gonna go sign up for that one. Like how could you possibly know which one to take? I mean, unless you're already in the space, right? If you're already using 3M material, okay, makes sense. Go take that. If you're already using Avery, okay. If you're using Arlon, go take that. If you're coming in completely brand new, you're just looking at all these options out there, you have no idea what to do.
I think you can trim it back a little bit, right? Like you can say, okay, if you're going to focus on fleet, right? Well, there's probably only so many fleet classes out there. Color change class, right? So it's like you can start to narrow it down, and then you kind of you should have some sort of understanding of the material, right? Like you should already know that 3M's probably going to be expensive, right? But are you going to get the same experience with cheetah wrap that you're getting with 3M? Probably not, right? And there's nothing right or wrong about that. But if the product that fits what you're trying to do, right, then there's probably another category of where you can kind of help yourself navigate through that. 3M classes are expensive. It is what it is. but I mean, you get a lot from it. You know, when you leave a windows, walls, and floors fleet class, you've got it pretty dialed in. I mean, especially like the 5-day class where you can go and essentially, if you're not testing, the last 2 days are just hands on, so you can work on whatever you want to. You know what I mean? So it's like it becomes, again, if you know why you're going to training, that's what I would say. Like, really hone in and make sure you know why you're going to that training. And if you're going because you want to train with somebody because you think they're cool, that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that could be the thing too. Because you could look at the list of trainers and be like, you know, half these dudes are lame, right? I'm not training with these guys. These other dudes are pretty cool, you know?
It's funny because, so when you were there too at the WrapsCon panel, and you were sitting right behind me there for that. And I was making a joke that, like, you're going through the panel, right? And a lot of these people are known, right? But if you're not in the 3M space at all, like Jamie being up on that panel, for most people are like, who is this guy? Like, nobody, I don't think outside of he's that well known, but I was like, I think of the people up there, like with the exception of Austin, who built his business and sold it, right? But I was like, Jamie's probably got the biggest business that's up there. Like, when I see what volume goes through that shop, like, I've been in there, I see how much material that dude's got on the floor.
It's tough because you look at, like, Miller Decals is a good business. Yeah. You know, like you said, you look at Austin. I'll tell you another one that it may not surprise you because I don't know how close you are with him, but Tim Evans.
Yeah.
Tim Evans got a good business.
Yeah, I know. And we just started delivering into his area. I was like, Tim,
holla at your boy.
Give me a call. This episode is sponsored by 3M Graphics.
But Jamie's I'll tell you why I think Jamie is a good balance for that panel. Jamie really tries to keep himself level.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? He's a very grounded. He tries not to get too high or too low. He just tries to run that middle of the road and keep it practical. And you could go from one end of that thing to the other, that panel to the other end, and you're going to get two different experiences, you know? And so I think that's probably more like my experience watching the panel with you it was funny to me because I'm looking over here at Matthew Lewinsky's way over on this side, and I'm looking over here at, you know, Tim Evans over here on this side. Literally nobody knows who Tim Evans is. Yeah. You know what I mean? They may know Rapper Mapper and they know his brand and they know, but like to really know him and his business, like he just doesn't put it out there like that. But then you go over to Matthew Lewinsky's on the complete other side and it's all about his brand, right? Yeah. Everybody knows who he is. And their efforts and how they work and their business is completely different. And then, so Jamie falls right in the middle. Yeah. You know, where it's like,
and he was right in the middle on the panel.
Exactly. Yeah.
So him and Matthew talking about color PPF, which actually we talked about in the 3M episode, so it's kind of funny to bring it up again, but was just hilarious to me where he's like, it's the thing, and then Jamie's like, it's not going anywhere. Like, what are you talking about, dude?
But you look at their businesses, right? Two completely different businesses, two completely different mindsets.
And both are thriving. So it's like,
they're doing good.
Yeah. Which is what we talk about too in the wrap space. Like, there's so much room for everybody. Like, I always make a joke that the biggest shops that I know, at least in our territory, are the ones that already know all the other shops. So in terms of if you run into a shop and they're like, oh no, we don't work with anybody. We don't sub out any work. We do it all here. I don't want to deal with them, right? That's my competitor. Versus the ones that are massive are like, oh yeah, we just did an install for them the other week. And we just sent them one 2 weeks ago because we were busy here. So it's like those groups I think are just scaling so much faster than the ones that are like, oh, those are my competitors. I need to eat up all their business.
Yeah, the competition thing is funny. It gets strange because I don't know. The first install job that I had was with Fountain Graphics. They were just a small installation company. Two brothers, great guys, still friends with one of them's passed away, but the other one's still alive. And we still talk. I still see him. And this is 20 something years ago. And he used to say it. He would say, and he's this older cat, right? So he's got like these one-liners that I'll never forget, and I still use them. But he'd say, "Well, I guess there's enough work out there for all of us." Just real simple and calm but
very Southern of him.
It is North Carolina, But it's just like that was his mindset. Was like it wasn't like, well, I'm glad there's enough work for all. It was just like, it was that simple. It wasn't like oh man, we got to, go after this guy and we got to make sure that we're protecting ourselves and from, he's going to steal our work. And I mean, you can get into that mindset, but I think it's dangerous. You know, I think it limits you. I think it forces your focus in a different direction. You know, you really need to be, if your goal is growth, right? Focus on growth, right? But if you're focused on protection, that's two completely different mindsets. You don't have to live. You can't live in both of those places at the same time. Yeah, they both require certain amounts of energy and focus, and whichever one you're going to give the focus to, that's what you're going to get. In my experience, the safety side of it, you know, at least for business, right? Like you said, the industry's huge. You can do something, just a simple change, like a little tweak to the model, and now you're open to this whole new thing. We had a student that come to a class with us one time. She was in Kentucky, and she did yachts. That was her business. I was like, what the hell are you doing yachts in Kentucky? It's like the worst place in the world. Like I'm all for like support and believing in people, but you know, I don't think how many yachts are rolling through Kentucky. And she was like, oh no, this is a real thing. Like we manufacture yachts. And I was like, why? Why are they not doing that like near the ocean?
Yeah, anywhere. They're just putting them on the Mississippi and just sending them down.
But evidently it was a real thing. There's two large manufacturers right there. I guess there's a massive lake in Kentucky where they build, you know, they'll build the yachts and then they, you know, I guess
ship them out.
I don't know.
Assume
but that was her thing. So she was doing like Dynoc on the interiors, and she was doing paint protection film and
crazy.
Yep.
I always think it's interesting where people pivot to first, which you heard me ask the question in the class today. It was like, are you seeing more sign shops get into tint and PPF? Or are you seeing more tint and PPF shops going into signage? Like, where's more opportunity there on our side? But it's always interesting to me, like Dynoc's a great example, right? Where someone will see that, right? There'll be a sign shop, they'll see Dynoc for the first time, and they'll just be like, oh yeah, I have a spot for that. And someone else will see Dynoc and be like, I'm never doing doors or cabinets. What am I wasting my time with there? And it'll be the same customer, right? They both do signage, they both wrap vehicles, and they both see Dynoc, and one is like, that's a perfect fit for our business. And the other one's like, I'm never touching Dynoc. Sure. And it just always interests me, like who decides to scale your business? Like we always make the joke here that like, I can't make a customer want to grow their business, right? Like if I show them something new, right? If they want to run with it, sweet. If they don't want to run with it, I'm not going to be able to bring the business to them like, hey, here you go. Like,
and you don't know what that's going to be. Like you don't get to pick and choose that, you know? But I think that if it's fitting, you know, a lot of times for us, it was like, you know, with race cars, you look at it and you say, okay, we're wrapping the car, but somebody else is coming in doing the PPF and the window film. Well, I mean, I guess we can go ahead and start doing window film and PPF, because like, there's no reason to source that out 3 different ways. Right. So it was like for a lot of installers, you know, even now, like when just that based off they're like, well, no, we're a wrap shop. Maybe I can see doing some window tint here and there, but we'll never use PPF. Like you just never know what that, you know, you never know what's going to trigger it. Yeah. You know, if you're doing like, just say you're doing chemical trucks or something where you're a landscaping company and you're switching over to spraying the mosquito spray or whatever. Yeah. And you come to find out the hoses that drape down across your wrap, you know, whatever that chemical is, it's eating it up, but you could put PPF on it and it saves the day. Right. So that wrap shop just all of a sudden became a PPF shop. Just like that's all it takes, you know, is that opportunity and just a little bit of confidence, you know. But the other side of that is, you know, I'm a huge component, and I catch a lot of for this, because I like it. To me, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago for like the young hustle. Like I just love it, man. I love to see like the hungry, eager, you know, optimistic, overachieving guy, you know, because when you see the older people that are just like, oh no, we don't do that.
Yeah. We're never doing it that way.
Well, then that opens the door for that next guy to be like, oh yeah, no, I'll wrap your car and I'll do PPF on it. I'll do that, and I'll tint your windows, and I'll do whatever. I'll detail it. You know, I listened to a podcast not long ago where a guy he owns a wrap shop, and he was talking about how they detail the car before it leaves. They put air fresheners with their little logos on it, you know, and they just do like all these little add-on things. And it's like, you know, the next time you go do a job, it makes you feel funny. You're like, well, damn, I didn't even clean the wheels off. You're pulling it out of your shop and you're like, God, that thing looks rough. Hey, what's going on? That is not a good look, you know, but but that's kind of where the standard, like after a while, it's like you see it. And before you'd look at it and you say, damn, that looks like a great wrap right there. We crushed that. And then you find out this guy's washing the wheels and you're like, man, you start looking at the wheels and like, dang, I don't look good. I'd step my game up a little bit. But at that moment, I think that's when it happens. I think, when you hear it or you see it, and it could, like I said, it could even come from a customer. A customer could come in and say,
ask for something.
Yeah. Well, when I leave here, I'm going to go get my windows tinted.
Yeah.
Oh, well, while they're at the tent shop, is the tent shop going to try to sell them wrap?
Yeah. Or PPF.
Yeah, exactly. So you never know. So it's like, I like it. I get excited about it. I think that's what, there's a lot of people have their opinions on, the organization of this country. Right. And we're just going to go full politics now. If you're just wondering, we're just going to dive.
Just get the beeper ready at all times.
But obviously there's a lot of issues. But there's something to the fact that like having the ability to be able to say no or say yes, that freedom to make your choice to where you have your line in the sand. That was one of the things having Tim Evans on the podcast, that he was like, he just casually says, say no. And he has that sound like he's just breathing it on you. Like just say no.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that feels weird. What do you mean just say no? You can't say no. You got to work. You got to put your head down. You got to grind. You got to get done. We got to make money. I got to be a rock star. We're going to explode and take over the freaking world. And Tim says, no, say no. And like, dude, I feel like the weight just lifted off my shoulders. Like I can do that. Yeah. And your life will get better.
He says that and you just pictured all the waterfalls that he took pictures of. They all just played through in your head. You're like, man, you know what?
He's right.
I should say no. I'm going on vacation.
That's beautiful.
Tim, give me your camera.
But I also understand and appreciate the guy that says yes.
Yeah.
Are they a little crazy? Are they a little? Yeah, they are. But I appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that they can. You can make the choice. You can say, nope, I'm not doing that. Or yeah, I'm doing it. And either way, like there's pros and cons to it.
Yeah.
And live in it.
And not just that too. Like we always talk about it. Like the thing I appreciate most about WrapScout in its current format, right, is that it forces people.
You do like it?
The format. What I do like about it. Can I specify here?
No, I just was curious.
What I do like about it right now,
we really enjoyed it this year. Winning changes the show.
It's really good.
That changes everything.
Like it was mediocre before.
Whatever opinions I had of it before, out the window. Fantastic.
As soon as that check showed up, you were like, this show's pretty good, But what I appreciate about it is when people are like, I think there's a lot of people that think they're really good at wrapping. And the point we always make is like, okay, like go compete. Sure. Then. Like if you think you're good, then go.
I can tell you, if you're going to keep telling them that, you better tell them to bring their big boy pants.
Yeah, I know.
Because if I'm going to be there, they're going to play hell.
I met Scott. You have no chance, dude. I've seen you out there with the squeegee. You're a choppy. You better get working on that.
But the good news is they can come train with me, right? Like it's not complicated. I'll show them all the stuff.
Yeah,
right.
All the tricks. Just not how to go. Just you missed like 5%. Just so you got a little bit of extra time.
And like one of the big things is just like good tools, right? So if you guys are looking for tools, you can find WrapOn Tools at wraponTools.com.
I asked you beforehand what you wanted to bring up. You didn't say anything. So I guess we're not bringing it up.
No, you don't have to. I mean, it just fits in so smooth, right? I mean, it's just,
it didn't even feel like a plug.
No,
it was when the logo flew across the screen. That's when we knew it was a plug.
Well, I think it's fair. I felt like I'd be doing, I think about Gavin has been on my mind a lot here lately, and there's another one too. And I've been talking about these young guys a lot that are in the industry, and they're young and they're hungry. And so there's just something about this kid Gavin. Do you know what I'm talking about? He's from out in Arizona.
Did he compete?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. He came and did the blindfold. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
We probably could pull the video if we tried, but
when I think about that guy, that's who I think about. Like that person I was describing. He's who pops up into my head. And, I think about him listening to this podcast, and I think about, if I didn't, like, it's kind of tongue in cheek, right? Like I make jokes, but at the same time, I'm dead serious, right? It's like, it's not a coincidence that we won, right? Like it's not like in my head, right? Because we do have the right tools and we do have the right all the tips, the tricks, all the stuff. We know all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, but when you frame it like that, it makes you sound like an arrogant, like psychopath, right?
Yeah. Like, oh, I knew we were winning.
But at the same time, it's like, but we did. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you guys wondering how we do it or whatever. Now there's some other stuff in there too, and I don't mind. Erica and Chris weren't there, not slayers, both of them. Javier wasn't there, right? A little bit of a letdown because he's going to get it too. He's going to get the business.
I mean, really, because Javier wasn't there, you did have there's an asterisk,
Kind of. His partner with Damien was there.
That's true.
And Damien's a slayer.
He was.
You know? So.
And he was cruising on that
for sure.
last wrap at the end.
Yeah. No, he's good. I wouldn't, no, he is very talented. So that's why I say I don't feel any less about it. If neither one of them would have been there, I would have felt a little funny about it. In fact, that neither Erica or Chris was there, I feel a little, there's a little something.
Like the NBA championship during 2020, It's
I'm going to take it.
Like, who won? I don't even know. Does it count? There was like 5 people playing.
No, they know. Everybody knows. They've seen it.
But no, 100%. Like he was there. But the interesting part is like the people from last year, let's say 2 years ago, we had a group of young kids come through. We were doing the blindfolded, but it was on a door. And they came through and like we'd had a whole bunch of teams come through, right? When they're like, oh, I don't think I'll be able to do this. And you're like, I promise you, it's not as hard as you're making it out to be, right? Like you've done a door, you've done this seam a billion times, right? Yep. Heat it, squeeze it out, you'll feel it, you'll be fine. And most people that did it, that's how it felt, right? They put the blindfold on, they start heating, they immediately just get in the groove, right? Oh, yep, I can feel the channel, I'm here.
Yep.
And we get this young kid comes through and he's like, oh, how in the world am I do this? And I explain it. Yeah, just you'll feel it. You can feel it like glass out under your hand, right? You know if it's getting too hot, you starts burning your hand. Okay, I'm too hot, right? And he puts the blindfold on and he is completely lost, right? The second he starts, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a disaster. And he goes through the whole thing, right? Like I'm not interrupting him at all. I'm just shooting video,
Try not to laugh as well.
Yeah, and he gets done. He looks at it and he's like, and I thought, this is where he'd laugh. Like, yeah, that's pretty bad, right? He looks at it. He's like, yeah, that's not that bad. And I just go, all right, well, thanks. And he leaves. And I just kept thinking like, there is, that's a sticker we were handing out. YouTube certified in the heat and mash is what that sticker says. But yeah, I just think like that guy has no chance, right? Like if you can look at that and be like, it's not that bad. I'm just thinking like, nobody here would look at that and be like, that's not that bad.
I like the elimination rounds.
That's not what Gavin did, right? Where he did it and he's like, yeah, it could have been better, but for blindfold, it's not terrible, but he's like at least looking at what went wrong. The other guy's just like, oh yeah, that
Gavin gets it. I can't think the other guy used to work for Charlie, little blonde headed kid.
Yeah. That's who I thought Gavin was. So that's funny. I had the wrong kid in my head.
And I might have backwards, right?
We both have backwards.
They might. I would have thought they were together. I mean, they're both just gorgeous guys, right?
They competed together.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they did the thing together. So
yeah, that's not what I meant.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I'm following. You're picking it up.
Yep, I got it.
No, but I met the other one's girlfriend or whatever. She's just super nice. Like,
she shot the video. Yeah, she was hilarious. That was the one. She made fun of them the whole time. It was awesome. It's great when someone else does it because it feels weird when you do it when they're competing and blindfolded. It's like you can't make fun of them. They're not even looking.
You're like, well, that's terrible. Here, buy some product from us. Love for you to.
We usually just make the joke like, man, dude, it looks like you can't even see what you're doing. I can't see it. Be like, yeah, I know.
What was I going to tell you though? It was something. Oh, we had a guy on TikTok. He posted a video of. He said that he seen us out at the competition and we did it. So it was kind of neat. It was kind of like a shout out to us and to you guys to, and RapsCon, I guess, as like showing that like people are out there, they're seeing it, they're trying it when they get home. This video was a little too long. I'm going to be honest. He ran it out. Just there's a lot of value in speed. You could chop it up. And
he needed that monetization. He just let it run.
But it was cool, because he got on there and he gave it a shot. And, it's funny because when you put the blindfold on, you can see proximity, right? Like, so there's like a little bit of light that you can see. So you have like a decent gauge of like where you are. So when you're watching the video of him, I'm like, this kid can see.
Yeah.
You messing with me? Like you're peeking. I know you're peeking. But the guy that's working the camera, he's like getting right up in his face and like he's checking him and the text pops up and it's like, I'm just checking to see if he's peeking. So that was the cool part about the video, because like as soon as you thought it, then he's like checking him out and it was like, all right, you guys get it. And that's where like, so that's where I don't know. Did you ever see the reaction videos that I put out?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I did a series called Wrap Reactions where I would just watch people's content, and it just stemmed from like a creative thing, right? Like create, not consume. Like I don't need to like doom scroll on TikTok for 4 hours, right? Like if I'm going to be on there and I'm going to watch something, I want to create a video. So usually what I would do is I would just react to the videos that I was watching, right? And so good, bad, or indifferent, be like, oh God, don't do that. Like, why are you doing that? That's where did you learn that? That's going to fail. Okay. Yep.
Just keep heating it up. Heat hotter.
But then every once in a while you'd run across one, you'd be like, oh bro, that is fire. Like you crushed that. It was great. So it was that initial reaction to that was like, in your head, it's like, I'm doing that anyway. Right. So it's like, and people act like they're not. And that, to me, it's like, well, that's what's happening. Right. Like we all know, like, but I think that's the gauge, right? Like you're looking at like how people do this stuff and you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like this is cool. All this, whatever's going on back in through here is cool. Like all the, the faded out photos and like the sign fitting just perfect. And like,
I would totally planned way ahead of time. Yeah.
This is dope.
We didn't just get lucky and the sign was 1 inch smaller than the gap we had it for.
But something like that's like, there's a part of that, like, I don't know if it's nuance or spontaneity where it's just like, it just happened and it worked and it's dope. And even if you didn't mean to, like, it still happened. Right. So it's like, there's just something to that, and how you how you see it, or your view on it, I think is cool. It is challenging though. It's hard because, you don't want to be overly, like I would get in the comments after I make a video and they'd be like, oh, so you just train people and then you get on the internet and dog them out. I'm like, I don't even know who the hell this guy is.
Like, yes, but that's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah.
Well, I told him the right way and he's just not doing it. So I guess I got to pick on him on the internet now.
Don't listen very well. Yeah. No, 100%. This episode is brought to you by Arlon Graphics, a trusted source for high-performance cast vinyl. This is their new product, DPF V9500, which is a high-performance, non-PVC polyurethane product that is made for highly textured surfaces like this. Check out this and all the new products Arlon has coming out at Wensco.com. In 2026, G2G and Wensco will launch 2 new products into the market. The one is the United Stick, which is a high efficiency, affordable, and reliable product for your sign and lighting projects. The second is LumaLink, which has a power pin design that's made to be cut and done anywhere in the field or in your shop. This is for small channel letters or any large projects. Check them out at Wensco.com. I think the WrapsCon format is definitely needed, right? Whether it's that show or not, but I think that type of competition, right? Like you did the tint or PPF one or both.
I'll do them all. I don't care.
And
I love it.
That format I think is needed in terms of like, hey, get out in front of people. And like, if you think you're really good at this, like you will get in front of people and realize like, oh, there's another step above like good at this. Like there's like there's an art to this. There's somebody who has not even seen the layout of the vehicle can just lay it down and be like, oh, I
like your point though earlier. Like I really felt like there was going to be a lot more people that came out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I felt like when they put up the money, I was like, okay, this is going to be a show. There's going to just be 100 people that come out that know, 100 teams that sign up, 200 people that they're just
have to weed them down.
Yeah. They're just, but they had the elimination rounds, which I like that, right? Like just trim the fat, right? Like just, because it builds this level of like, pressure and anticipation, and like you got to meet, like, it's not all strategic. It's, a lot of it is effort and ability. But I thought the money would bring that out. So it's like, to me, it's like, it's one of two things. Either these is legitimately the best of the best and what you see is what you get, or those other people, that said that, like, oh, I do, it just is not worth it. Well, $15,000 is worth it. You know what I mean? Like you can take a couple days off and go compete for 15 grand. That's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good money.
You know what I mean? Like you're not going to make if you think about the 10 stations that we did and we wrapped a car and we made 10 grand, that's pretty good. You know, that's not, or 15 grand. That's pretty good. That's not a bad couple days spent. But I think people just got freaked out. I think it was a little bit more intimidating, you know? So I appreciate GPX or WrapsCon. I appreciate them putting that up because it's kind of like put up or shut up, right? Like you want to get the best out here, put up the money, and they did. But WFCT did that the year before, and I think that's kind of what inspired that. Yeah. But even then, like their window tint competition WFCT's window competition is next level. The way they do that is insane. It's not even really a show. It's a competition that just happens to have some vendors scattered around on the outsides.
That is what the wrap community actually needs the most. So I've been telling everybody about this, but so we did the Letterhead show. Mm-hmm. Oh, that book's not up here anymore. I was going to point to the book, but it's not even up here. We did the Letterhead show, which is a show for sign painters, mm-hmm. right? And when I was there, it's like 200 people that just paint signs. That's what they do. And they love it, right?
Oh, yeah. I remember you were telling me about this. Didn't they have like a centerpiece that they all worked on together or something? Yeah. So they were like taking turns painting this mural at the sign museum. It's huge, right? Yeah. And they were all just adding to it. There was no plan. It was, or from what it seemed like, there was no plan, right? And I just thought the whole time, I was like, if the wrap community could put something like this together, right? There was like 5 vendors. That's not even a joke. Like there might have been including you.
Correct. There might have been 8 tables, right? It was just tabletops, right? And half the time we didn't even man our table, right? We just like set our stuff and we're like, okay, there's stuff going on. I'm not here, right? And
so what else was going on?
So everyone paid to be there, right? So there was an admission for it. And they had 2 different spots for seminars, which is just like GPX does, except it was all like hands-on stuff, right? So you'd see like the best of the best would be like legitimately, one of the ones I sat in was, here's how you draw serifs. That was the seminar. And it's this guy and he like explains it out, right? Like, oh, if you have a T, here's how you do it. Now, what if it's an S? And he goes through it.
Imagine you guys sitting on Bing bags while you're doing that.
That's exactly. You got the right idea, right? Okay. Yeah. Smoke filled room, you know, that's not what happened, but that's what you should imagine it that way. Yeah. But like you just sit in it and you're like, you look at the title, right? You're like, this can be so boring. And by the end, you're just like staring at the dude, like, I don't know what's happening. This guy's got something.
So you're talking about like true blue, like, you know, stick and pin, like stick and stick, like dragging and like.
But like, there's so many people in the wrap industry that do incredible work, right? Across the board. And if you got them in front of people and you did webinars that weren't like, hey, here's the difference between DTF and DTG while we're here at WrapsCon. Like it doesn't, like it's, if you had them come out and be like, hey, here's how I do the corner of a hood, right? And it's a 45-minute webinar that's, here's how you do it. Like that would be
about like you see like Jim Miller will post up and say like, you know, hey, we can do a transit in, you know, 4 hours. Well, let's see it. Drag the van out here in the middle of the floor and show everybody how you do it. Cause I mean, that's impressive. You know, doing a full transit in 4 hours is smoking, especially for him. He's like 60.
Yeah.
You know, that was just a joke.
They can do it. I was there.
Oh yeah. No, and I don't mean it. I meant it.
I see what you're saying, but I'm like legitimately like, they'll make a claim and you'll be like, yeah, okay.
For sure.
But I saw his team do a GT3 RS bumper. I swear it was 14 seconds. Dude, the guy literally was like, he looked over at the other dude. He's like, you ready? They're like, yeah. They're sitting on like little, you know, like shop cart scooter looking things. And they just freaking are like, ready? He's like, yeah. He's got a heat gun in between his legs. That's no joke. Heat gun in between his legs, holding the material. He scooters around and they lay the whole bumper down. It had to have been 20 seconds and it looked done. They didn't even need a squeegee. They could have just trimmed it off. And
but I mean, that kind of seminar, like that's what you would like.
Yes. 100%.
If Jim Miller's doing a seminar on how to do a sprinter in 4 hours, I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going and I'm watching it. I'm going to sit in on that every time. I think it's cool.
And I know a guy that can put on that show. So if he could just, you know, do it, we're all in.
Where would you do it?
I mean, I would prefer to be in the Midwest personally, but you know, I'm up for interpretation. So if you did it in Indy, that would be sweet.
Yeah. I was gonna say you liked WrapsCon at Indy.
Well, it wasn't good at Indy, but I liked it being in Indy at least. But But yeah, it would be sweet to have that show. But Rick's point at the time, which is also, you probably need to catch a flight too. So we're probably coming on to it. But,
thanks, Rick. Good looking out.
But thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We said, what are we going to talk about? And now we've been here an hour and 1 minute.
We didn't
plus
even get going.
5 minutes. Yeah, we could have done another 99 plus.
Man, we didn't even talk about the Minion. We did hit on Yo-Yo, so that's good.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Legos, so we did pretty good.
We'll get there.
We'll come back.
Yep.
Well, you can come back and do another one. We're going to try and have you back to do some trainings, it sounds like, this year. So we got time. And hopefully we can play disc golf next time, because there was none of that this time. So
3 foot of snow is going to have to go somewhere first.
Yeah. It's almost frozen. We could almost play it. If it gets hard, if it gets cold enough, you can actually go and play again, because then the disc doesn't go in the snow. But thank you for coming on. Thanks for coming out through the training. Yeah. And where can people find you and all your sweet stuff?
Yeah, so you can find me across all platforms. Stick with Scott. That's my personal stuff. So you're going to get a mixture of a little bit of everything and probably some stuff that you don't want. And then WrapOn, you can find WrapOn across all platforms as well. So WrapOn, the podcast is best to follow it on YouTube, just because we're putting those episodes out, faster than all the other platforms. But yeah, WrapOnTools.com. Yeah, I'm pretty easy to, you can, between my personal and WrapOn stuff, we're pretty easy to find.
And then you can find him on the podium at RapsCon. That's where he'll be if you're looking for him. So but seriously, thanks for coming on. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed just sitting here and talking to you. So thanks guys, and we'll see you in the next episode. So goodbye.